Duke is
right here.
Aha, good. Thank you.
I tried to fix Zoom. I can't.
Yep.
So welcome everybody. And you can just leave that screen up for now, Scott. I sent out an email asking what all's going on in your churches. What are you doing with COVID-19? This killed us like crazy. And it's affecting not just the Episcopal Church, but all churches across the country. When I sent out the email to everybody that was attending today, I got 66 responses. Out of those responses, if I glean some data from that, about 82% are doing virtual Sunday worship. About 29% are doing virtual daytime worship or weekday worship. 23 of you have started going back to outside worship on Sunday morning of some kind. And about 35% of you have either started or are fixing to start doing internal worship. Hold on, Scott. Michael's texting me. Just a second. I gotta.
Duke, you're good.
I'm good. I'm sorry. Say about 35% have either started going into to worship in their buildings or have a plan to do so in the next couple of weeks. About 26% of you have canceled, or you're between your clergy and you've kind of put Verger duties totally on hold. 21% are doing what I'm doing, and that's becoming video engineers to do live stream work. And then another 21% are what I call jack of all trades, doing what Vergers do on a regular basis and then doing it like crazy during this pandemic. Steve Howd in Britain, are you on with us? If so, can you raise your hand? Raise your hand electronically if you're here. I guess Steve is not here.
He is here, Duke. I just asked him to unmute himself.
Okay.
Now, Duke.
Hey, Steve, how you doing?
Okay. Yes, we're smiling over here, but it is hard for all of us on both sides of the pond. But
and I see, as a solo verger, you're both sacristan, server, altar communion, linen launderer, and a choir boy all rolled into one.
That's right. Yes. Yes.
How's attendance been going?
How's the what?
How has your attendance been going on either live or
Oh, extremely well. On a normal Sunday morning, we'd have about 150 people in the congregation, 100 of whom will receive communion. Now we do 2 Eucharists, and we're doing about 50 at each. So.
And where are you located in London or in England?
Hammersmith, West London. Yeah. And actually, you're looking at a picture of my church behind me, if I can get my hand.
Ah, got it.
Yeah. There.
Diane Groden, are you in the house?
Yes.
No, Steve, I went to Diane Groden. If you're in the house, could you raise your hand?
I'm here.
Great. I was intrigued by your response to us. Tell us a little about what's happening up there in Quincy, Massachusetts.
Well, our parish and our bishop, also in concert with the demands, the specifications of the governor, we had our last worship service on March 8th. And on that day, we didn't know that it was going to be the last one until September 13th.
Yeah, I think that's kind of been across the country that way.
Right. So we had a regathering team discussing what we would do. We did do some evening Zoom worship during the summer, but there came a point when people were leaving for their summer homes on the Cape, and so we kind of let that go. But now that we're back to worshiping in church, we have 2 Eucharists, one at 8, which is a said Eucharist, the normal 8 o'clock, and a 10 o'clock with organ music. But we expect that our soloist will be back October 4th.
Okay, and you're in a rather old historic building, aren't you?
Yes, we are.
And you're having to open all your doors and windows?
We do. We have to open all
Massachusetts, all doors and windows open. What are you going to do come Christmas time?
We don't know. And we're a bit concerned. There are probably other churches that have better ventilation than we have. Our cathedral doesn't have any better ventilation than we do either. So we don't know what we're going to do come Christmas. We've missed Easter. We've missed Pentecost. And now we're looking at missing Christmas.
Going to get cold.
It can. It can be cold at Christmas, but it can
With
also,
all the doors and windows open.
It can also be 70 degrees at Christmas.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
yeah, and I'm the only verger. I'm also the director of the Altar Guild. And the rector and I, we made the decision that we would not bring back our whole Altar Guild because we're all older women, and the risk is just too great.
Got it.
So the rector and I are doing everything.
Thank you.
You're very
Gary Frame, are you on the call? Gary? I guess Gary, did you find him?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Oh, Gary. I like this bit about you guys are doing a virtual choir.
Oh yeah, you like that? I sent you a recording of the.
Yeah, and it didn't work too well to put it on the web, the Zoom call today.
Oh, that's okay.
But it was beautiful. It was beautiful. You guys are you doing that all weekly or just?
No, it's a periodic thing. We've done five recordings so far.
Wow.
And it's directed by Linda Lawton, who is the choir director at St. Paul's Church in Beaufort, North Carolina. And on the recording I sent you, we had 21 individual singers, and 5 of those were from St. John's, my church. And the last recording we did for her last week, we had 9 members from our church.
So let me see if that's
on that recording.
If I understand that, they send you a music track, you record yourself singing to it, you send it back in, and then they put it all together.
Yes, that's correct.
Are you doing video as well as audio, or?
No, but one of our local choir directors told me the other day that he was prepared. They've been pre-recording all of their services anyway, so they have the technology up. He's prepared now to do a video virtual of choir.
Well, I know if people have seen that on YouTube or whatever, and it looks like they're doing a choir on Zoom. It's
Yeah.
not Zoom.
2 weeks ago, I was doing the morning prayer service, and I was able to put the talus in right after the homily, I think. And then at the end, as a postlude, we put in an instrumental of the same tune by two trumpeters from the symphony in Nashville, Tennessee. And the two of them played 4 parts. And it was really, really nice. So I was able in that service to put in our choir, our virtual choir, and then a virtual instrumental of the same Thomas Tallis.
Great. And I know that to do that video and audio, I'm doing video here at St. Richard's in Round Rock and all the splicing and making videos for the offertory. And with all of that, to splice in what looks like a Zoom choir is actually taking, if you've got 20 choir people, 20 pieces of video and 20 pieces of audio into a video production system and melding that all together and making it so everything lines up. So it's no easy task, and I applaud you all for doing it.
Well, it takes time. I was the last one. I was asking her how it was going, and she had to tell me that all of this takes a good bit of time to put together. So I understand that.
Okay. Did Jennifer Garcia make it on? Jenny, are you with us? Did you find her, Scott?
Oh, I'm unmuted now?
Oh, there you are. Hi, Jenny.
Hi.
How's things going in Colorado? How are the fires up in Colorado?
You know, they're getting a little bit better. We can see the sky again. The mountains are still a bit foggy, but it's getting better.
Oh, great. Yeah. So you're running your Verger team while cradling a brand new baby.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So what kind of challenges has that done for you since your time is pretty much taken up, being a grandpa of a number of them? I know what your time is taken up like.
Yeah, I mean, what's really nice is that, you know, if we had been in person worshiping, I wouldn't have been able to participate. I wouldn't have been able to be there because I have, you know, brand new baby, but well, he's 4 months old now. But since we were all virtual, I could participate and be there. We have a young adults ministry at church, and so half the Vergers are in that group as well. And so we've been kind of doing all of the videography and the Zoom and the hosting and all that sort of stuff. So it's just kind of been delegated out, different tasks and things like that. So I've just been working with people who aren't familiar with Zoom on how to read, how to look into the appropriate camera or things like that, how to unmute yourself, basic things like that. And then we've all kind of taken on different roles. Durango, who's one of our other Vergers, will sit in the Facebook Live feed. And then when we do prayers of the people, he'll gather the prayers from the Facebook feed and drop them into the Zoom. And we have another Verger who is the host. So when people come into the waiting room, they'll be allowed in or out and does the muting and unmuting of people, stuff like that. So we all just kind of work together to get it done. So.
Sounds like you got your hands full at both ends.
Yes, yeah.
Well, thank you for all you do.
Well, thank you.
Ken Jurgens, Kenneth Jurgens, are you on by chance from Nassau Bay, Texas? Ken, are you here?
Yes, now I'm unmuted.
Hey, Ken. I was really intrigued in your comments you sent me about how, I know you turned into a video engineer, but how you were able to fund the capacity to do video services. It looks like you went out and combed through the weeds to find the funds.
I didn't do any of that. and I'm not the video engineer. We have a guy that studied that in school, and first job out of school was actually as a radio station engineer. So he's put all this together with assistance from a gentleman who is a professional photographer and videographer. I'm also on the vestry, and when we started talking about this, the vestry was able to get a grant from the diocese to help fund this. The vestry thought it was important enough that we put monies from our operating fund and combined those sources with funds from donations, memorials, and stuff. We have 2 cameras mounted on the back wall in our nave. Upstairs in the balcony over those cameras, we've set up a control booth, if you will, with some dedicated gear, and it's we've got a Hulu TV, I think, that is the screen for the control, and there's some dedicated hardware, I don't know the name of it, that feeds that directly into our YouTube channel.
Well, knowing that about 80% of us who responded, at least to my survey, said they were doing video work or their church was doing video work, I was just intrigued by the fact that you were able to get a grant to do that, because most of us are working on a shoestring budget.
The diocese has been very supportive, I think, for a lot of the parishes in the Diocese of Texas for various types of endeavors on this line for remote services.
Well, sounds like you've been having fun up there. Or out there.
Has been.
How'd the hurricane last week do you?
We got about 4 or 5 inches of rain at my house in Seabrook. It's near Galveston Bay. Friendswood, just 8 or so miles west of us, got pounded. So it was real spotty. No rain, no wind, rather. Very little wind where we are.
Great, thank you. Paul Davidson. Are you on with us? I know I keep asking that, but somehow our billing didn't. We paid for 500 on Zoom, and we're kind of limited to 100 right now. So some people may not have made it.
I don't see Paul Davidson.
Okay. How about Joseph Heston?
I raised my hand.
Joe. How are you today, sir?
All right. Oh, I let the Scott unmuted me, or somebody did.
Yeah. That's. Now you're a TV guy, aren't you?
TV guy. Yeah, 45 years worth and just out the door. Not connected to the pandemic, but long planned, about 1.5 years of trying to retire as president here. But yes, just out September 4th.
So that's got to be a big help to your parish in this time, also.
Well, interestingly, we have about 130 on a regular attendance basis, and we have done, as many of you all have done, YouTube and Zoom. We use for social. We haven't, and they do morning prayer in Compline on Zoom live, but trying to do a whole service, we've not tried to I don't know how that would go. Although today's morning prayer went very nicely. So, but I've lit the church for video, and we have been doing like the rest of you since we had our last service on that Sunday the 8th, unbeknownst to us. And so I've lit the church, but I haven't been drawn in. Our bishop here has been really like, it's locked down, 3 people, no more than that in the church. And so between our interim rector and assistant and our parish administrator, who's really been doing the video work, I just helped because it looked so glum. It was so sad the first week. I said, I got to go in and get some television equipment, and borrowed that. And then we bought our own LED system in there. So that's what we're doing here.
Sounds exciting. You want to come lend us a hand down here in Texas?
Actually, the lighting, they teased me because it's been so long. As president, it's been a long time since I was a producer director. But basic lighting comes back very quickly once you start putting up. And, we all learn new things now. We're all doing things differently. And even I bought all these, lighting, the LED tools that we use now that you can dial color temperature, you can dial intensity. My days of using filters and scrim and things are now, the youngins use all this technology. So I actually had to learn this new LED system, and it's terrifically flexible compared to old school. So
old school with plastic film and that kind of stuff over your lights.
Yep.
And
Yeah. 75. You put up a particular filter and for daylight, but you can, with the LED lights, you can dial from tungsten to daylight. That you can match the color temperature of the lighting that's in your church. So anyhow, it's everybody learns something, and this 45-year TV guy learned because of our church work, Duke. So thank you.
Great, thank you for your contributing. Where'd my screen go? Paul's not here. And I just, folks, the people I'm calling on, I took a random generator and just had them pull out half a dozen to a dozen names. Patrick DeBrock, are you out there? J. Patrick DeBrock, one of my new fellows, just became a fellow of the Guild.
Yes, I'm here.
Great, sir. And where are you located?
We're in Connecticut.
Oh, another one of them frozen tundra, or soon to be frozen tundra.
Yes. Yeah.
And you've got another one of those real old churches, don't you?
We do. We have about 287 years we've been in existence in Connecticut.
Wow.
So,
Being that old of a building, what challenges does that give you towards videoing and that sort of things?
yeah, it gave a lot of challenges, and the same thing with the opening up windows. The windows are all stained glass windows. They're small. Doors that we have, because over time, as we've added building structures, the doors, we only have one main entrance. The other ones come from within inside the church. So getting air to circulate through is kind of a challenge, right? We too purchased, thanks to the vestry. I'm the treasurer on the vestry as well, and we found some funds to do a camera system. So we have been doing a lot of experimenting and learning as we go, but there's nothing like it. For people have the feedback we've gotten is to actually see their sanctuary again is what they, even if they can't be there, to see it means a lot to them. So, but it's an interesting challenge for us.
Meeting, let's see, what is this about sacred cows that are in here?
Oh, so I was in my note. We not only did we have the fun of COVID, but we also had the retirement of our priest, and then we were in the search process to call a new priest, which we did. And so my story was more about the fact that being an early verger in my verger experience, It's actually been very, very helpful for the new priest as she came in, because we were able to help her to understand what, as I call, the holy cow, the sacred cows of, oh, you don't move this chair here because that's, that kind of stuff. Stuff
Oh, you mean those items that have that plaque that say, given to the glory of so-and-so in memory of God?
Yeah, don't move it. So anyway, so it was kind of fun that I was actually helping her to understand how we do things, or how we have done things, but also some of those things where we might want to settle in a little before we start talking about if we want to shift the chair here or there, right?
Great. Thank you. Denise Mead, are you around? Did you make it in from England? Denise?
Hello.
Hey, Denise, how's it going? Oop, you muted her again.
Denise, you got muted again. Can you unmute?
There you go. I think you're unmuted now. How's it going over in England today?
It's okay. Quite busy.
Got busy?
We're busy. We've got our choir back. We've got a huge choir. We have 25 little girls, 25 boys, and 25 adults.
Okay, tell everybody where you serve.
In Croydon Minster in Surrey.
And you're a full-time paid verger, been on staff for quite a while, haven't you?
Yeah, about 25 years.
Wow. And you told me in your note that all the church phones have been routed to your cell phone?
Yep.
Ouch.
And all the emails.
You're one busy lady.
I have been.
You say your choir is regrouped?
Yes.
Has COVID died down that much over there?
Not really, but we're being very, very cautious. We've got a huge risk assessment for how the children come in and how they wash their hands, they clean their hands, they go straight to their seats with masks on. They can only take their masks off when they sing. They can't mix with other children. So all the choir's class is a bubble. They can't mix with children that don't go to the same school as them. So we've got quite a lot of our children come from one particular school, and then they can mix with those children, but not the other children. And so it's quite a job.
With all of that, what are you doing to keep your sanity?
My friend.
Is that consecrated? Is that consecrated wine?
No, that's just pure wine.
And plus, you're on a 5-hour time difference, so it's in the evening already. There.
Yeah, with the evening. Yes.
Okay, you're not a morning tipper.
No, not till the yard arms. The thing is across the yard arm. No, I don't drink till the evening.
Great. So, how many people are you back to in cathedral worship, or?
We're in full-time worship, yes, but only twice a week, on a Sunday and a Wednesday.
And about how many people are you letting in?
Maximum of 60 in the congregation and 45 in the choir.
A little over 100 in the building.
Yeah.
And how old is your building?
Over 1,000 years.
I bet the ventilation is great.
Terrible.
Well, thank you very much. All in here. Allison Fresher, did you make it in? Allison Fresher? There she is. Hey, Allison.
Hi, how are you?
So how's it? Hope he's not here. How's it working with Rich? You can be honest.
Great. Rich is the best.
Rich Lamlin, former board member.
Verger. That's correct. Yes. He's been wonderful, very welcoming, and it's been great.
So the two of you have been working together to create a reopening procedure. So what all are you doing what are your diocesan, kind of gist of your diocesan guidelines and what you all are doing?
Well, our diocesan guidelines have in many ways given us the freedom to make choices. We decided to open the church for services in August. And so what we did was meet in the church and determine how we could safely socially distance. So that involved taping off every other pew. Our church seats about 200 people, and it was constructed in the late 1800s. So it's a smaller church, an older church.
And where are you? You're up in Connecticut also, right?
Yes, in Essex, Connecticut. Then we also created a flow plan to enter and exit the church, which involved using a lot of colored tape and making a lot of complex arrows so that the flow as you entered the church was heading east, and then as you exited the church, you are supposed to go out another door through the parish hall. So we don't have people passing each other as they enter and exit. We have not, we do have, at this point, virtual choir, but the choir has not returned to church. During our live stream, we do have an organist. We're not offering communion, which has been disappointing to many members of the congregation. I'd say about 50% of the congregation feels very strongly that we should be offering communion. So we have started a plan again with freedom from the diocese to develop our own plan to figure out how we can safely offer communion. And hope to be able to do that sometime in the next month or so. Mm-hmm. So I would say it sounds like we're lucky that we're having the church open for worship services. It sounds like that's a unique experience amongst the group here. But we again have decided no singing. We have not come up with a final plan on how we can offer communion, and then we have social distancing for those who enter and exit the church.
Right.
So.
Well, thank you. And I know, and communion has been a problem all across the country.
Yeah.
And diocese by diocese, they have different what's allowed and what's not. And just reading notes that you all sent me, it's across the board. I know here in the Diocese of Texas, we are not allowed to do drive-by communion. We're not allowed to mail out wafers. We're not allowed to do spiritual communion, where you've got things at home. Our bishop's been pretty strict. And I'm sure across the country, nobody's doing wine. Everybody's doing bread. Those that are doing it. I know we've gone to an outdoor service, and you keep your mask in place, and the priest goes by your family and drops off bread. And when he goes to the next family, then you can take your mask off and eat the bread. So it's been very limiting that factor too. Scott, how's my time going?
Duke, I've been telling everybody that I can tell that our 500 limit has been solved and that our technical problems are behind us. So I haven't paid one bit of attention to what you've been saying.
Thank you. I appreciate that. You never do listen to me.
Sorry about that.
But how's my time doing?
You know, I'd say it's time to wrap her up.
Okay, let me go to one more, and then now, folks, you're going to have a breakout session later in the afternoon. And I encourage you all to continue the discussion about what's happening in your individual places with COVID-19. I just wanted to pull in a few highlights across the country. Timothy G., let's go to you for a last one. Timothy? I know you're here. Saw you earlier.
Hi, Duke.
Hey, Timothy. For those that don't know, Timothy's probably one of the older, longer-serving vergers around, out there in California, aren't you?
Yes, Saratoga. Our church is in Saratoga.
In Saratoga, and that's Rio Grande, El Camino.
El Camino Real.
Yeah. You're probably one of the few vergers I know that's appointed to the Diocesan Liturgy Commission.
Yes, I'm probably, there's only 2 lay members of the Diocesan Liturgy Committee, and we were formed by our new bishop to address the whole COVID issues for the diocese.
Is that the bishop that you drafted the service for?
Yes.
He primarily was a primary architect in the consecration of his new bishop out there. So tell me about the struggles of being on a liturgics commission and developing pandemic guidelines.
Well, as some of the members have already said, that the struggles of each parish doing things differently, and because we are stretched from all the way up in Palo Alto in the Silicon Valley down to San Luis Obispo, each of them have their own little idiosyncrasies of each of the areas of the diocese. But the key thing that we approached was there's 7 or 8 of us altogether, 2 lay. The other lay person is an organist, a music director in Santa Cruz, and then the rest are all clergy. And we had to basically advise the bishop as to how to approach helping the parishes create their addressing the COVID issues, how to start virtual services, and just how to approach things. And so we broke it down to the sections of technology, facility needs, music needs, and liturgical needs, and the needs of the parishioners. So each of those we attacked, and we presented those before the clergy, the clericus, and then they basically, we just recommended. In no way were we going to tell them what to do. It was just to say, here's the options that we've noticed throughout the country. And thanks to the Episcopal Church, the National Episcopal Church, we were able to get a lot of resources from them and develop recommendations for the clergy to use to develop their own programs.
Great.
One of the big ones that we've just done is how to do ordinations in the COVID situation. And thank goodness there's been some other dioceses that went ahead and did some before us. So what I did on Saturdays was just sit in front of the computer and watch ordination after ordination in different dioceses throughout the country and kind of pick out what was common amongst them and what was different, and wrote up a customary for our bishop to do ordinations. And we had ours first one about 2 weeks ago. It was outdoors originally, but because of the smoke and so on and the fires, we had to take it indoors in a 1 day's notice. And luckily, most of the ones that I watched were all indoors, so we were able to do recommendations with that and keep the social distancing, keep the number of people down, sanitize. The bishop asked me to be her chaplain, so I was able to be next to her and constantly feeding her the little bottle of sanitizer, and so that she kept her hands sanitized as she ordained the new priest. So we have it in place now if we need it in the future, and it's just watching and getting, spending time and collecting the best of what's out there, and just kind of compile it and make the recommendations.
Sounds like you got your hands full.
It was very interesting.
I applaud the work. Well, folks, I think my time is wrapped up. I am going to post in the annual conference section on our website the spreadsheet, because I think there's some things throughout it that you may be able to glean what some other people are doing. It might be helpful to you. Might not. Might just be interesting. But I will post that after the conference today, so that if you want to go through and look at some of the other people's responses, they're all there. I'm sorry I couldn't call on every one of you. I know you've all got input and all got stories, and I encourage you to discuss those sort of things during our breakout sessions later in the day.
Hey, Duke, thank you so much. You know, Beth Wilson's hand has been up. Beth, I'm going to unmute you and see. Did you want to say something?
I have been working with the Canon for Music on trying to get plans to do Advent procession, St. Andrew's Day, and Festival of Nine Lessons and Carols for New Year's Eve in our virtual world. We're working on it. What I think I'm going to have to do is more or less the way we used to do a storyboard, because particularly Advent Pro has a lot of moving parts, because they go to the four corners of the cathedral. By the way, I'm St. John's Cathedral, Jacksonville, Florida. So anybody that has any ideas on that, I'm listed correctly in the directory.
That's great.
I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, and I'm sure people will be able to reach out. I just didn't want to leave you there with your hand up.
Oh, thank you, thank you.
Blood was going to rush out of your arm. Okay.
Not going to happen.
Okay. Let me share my screen again, and we'll get back to the presentations.